This story happened recently involving a girl, 28 female, I dated since last year. First, let me give some backstory. Before Memorial Day, she decided that she wanted to try the whole hot girl summer and broke up with me so she can find herself. During this time, she blocked me on Facebook, but kept me on Instagram. All throughout summer, I saw Instagram posts of her going to pool parties, nightclubs, festivals, etc. Personally, I didn't pay much attention to them and focused on my job, having a good summer. However, I heard from a mutual friend that she also got involved with being polyamorous and had a lot of male friends. I even heard that she went to some swingers parties. 2 weeks ago, she reached out to me and wanted to patch things up with me. This time around, however, she was very overtly sexual towards me, something that was kinda outside her usual demeanor. She kept insisting that I come over to her place so we could have some real fun. Something didn't feel right about her advances, and trusting my gut, I insisted on meeting in a coffee shop to chat. 1 hour before our meeting, I got a text from a mutual friend that my ex got pregnant sometime over the summer and thought that I had a right to know. During our chat, she acted like we never even broke up and asked about what I did over the summer, to which I responded that I pretty much worked. I decided to ask her about being pregnant, to which prompted this following exchange. Me: "So, I don't mean to be in your business too much, but I heard through the grapevine that you're pregnant." X: "Oh, you heard that? Yeah, it's true, but I'm not really worried though." Me: "Why's that? Is the dad still in the picture?" X: "No, he's not, but luckily for me, I got someone who's going to step up and take care of me and the baby, and who knows, he might ask to marry me soon." Me: "Really? Who is it?" X: "Oh, I think you know." Me: "No, I don't. Who is he?" X: "He's sitting right in front of me." Me: "Some coffee comes out of my nose." Come again? X: "It's you, silly." My jaw hit the ducking floor. I sat there dumbfounded for 10 awkward seconds. X: "Aren't you excited?" Me: "No, I'm not." X: "Why not?" Me: "Because not only did you party it up all summer, I heard that you had more than your fair share of sexual romps and swingers parties, and now you're telling me that you expect me to take you back after all that, marry you, and raise a kid that's not even mine?" X: Taken aback and starting to look real angry. Yes, because that's what real men like you do. They step up and provide for their women. Plus, it's not like I cheated. We weren't together when I got pregnant." Me: "While that may be true, you're still asking me to do something I'm not even remotely interested in doing." X: Looking very upset. "So you're not going to step up then? Are you serious?" Me: Looking around and noticing that half the coffee shop is listening to us. "I'm just going to go." I get up and walk out in a hurry. As I make it 15 feet out the coffee shop, I hear my ex burst through the front door of the coffee shop screaming like a banshee. X: "Get your butt back here, OP. We're going to have this discussion." I decided to get the hell out of Dodge and started to sprint across the parking lot. I looked back for a split second to see my ex running after me, still screaming. Luckily enough for me, she was wearing heels, and me with a good pair of shoes. I managed to get to my car, get inside, and start the engine in time to peel out of the parking lot. While at a stoplight up the block, I took out my phone and blocked her number and her Instagram account. For a day and a half, things were quiet, until I was at a gas station filling up my car. After I was done, I bent over to tie my shoes. While doing so, I heard the sound of stiletto heels angrily making their way towards me and stopping right behind me. A chill ran down my back as I felt a pair of angry eyes staring daggers at me. I stood up and turned around expecting to see my ex, but I was greeted by the rage-filled eyes of my ex's mom. The EM of this story. I should also mention that she is divorced. She raised her hand to slap me, but I stepped back in time to dodge it. EM: "You're a ducking a-hole, you know." Me: "If you're referring to your daughter, then I'm sorry, but I'm not getting back together with her." EM: "Yes, you are." Me: "No, I'm not. I refuse to date someone who is going to try and force me to raise a kid that isn't even mine. Why don't you ask those men she screwed during her summer vacation?" EM: "So what if she had a couple of one-night stands? All girls do it. So what if she made a mistake? It's not like you two were together, so it doesn't count as cheating." Me. Even so, it's not really fair to me to just expect me to take her back after all that. EM. Yes, it is, because that's what men are supposed to do. They provide for their women. That's what my angel deserves right now, and you're just the man to do it. You need to man up right now. Me. BS. I deserve a girlfriend that won't break up with me just to screw around and expect me to be waiting around to take her back afterwards. Suddenly, an officer pulls up and gets out of his car. Officer. Is there a problem here? EM. Why, yes, there is. I need you to arrest this man for stalking and harassing my daughter. Me. Officer. I can assure you that I have not harassed anyone. She's lying. EM. Why, you lying sack of crap. Just then, a guy from a few pumps down runs up to the officer. Nice guy. Excuse me, officer. I saw the whole thing. This lady accosted this man about not wanting to date her daughter. EM. Duck off. Nobody asked you. She tries to slap the nice guy, but the officer stops her and restrains her. After this, he let me go and suggested I get a restraining order, which I'm heavily considering, as well as moving out of my apartment soon. I have a feeling that this is not over. Edit. I went ahead and got a Ring app for my apartment in case my ex wants to try anything while I'm away. I've stopped going to some of the places I usually go, gas stations, gym, church, etc., in the hopes to avoid seeing her mom again. I heard from my friend that my ex is doing a witch hunt to figure out who told me about her being pregnant, and even made a Facebook post about it, which he sent me a screenshot of. In the meantime, I'm looking for a new apartment. Not to sound ignorant, but I really think it's going to be hard for my ex to pin a baby on me, seeing how we didn't have sex at all over the summer, and with me turning down her offer to come to her apartment. But if I see her mom again, I will file an RO the same day. Be ready to prove you're not the biological father. Talk to a lawyer. If she puts your name on the birth certificate, you need to know your options. For a little bit of background, my mother has been an entitled bee to my entire family since we were kids. She has done so much to us, it is hard to even know where to start. Such as putting bills into our names before we were even 16, ducking up all of our credit, demanding money from us all the time. Most recently, demanding money from me prior to my wedding last year for her to have a vehicle, or else she wouldn't allow my father, true, or brother, false, as he says he could have found a way there himself, to come, claiming that my brothers have stolen things from them, having my father steal from us and forge my name on paychecks so they can get money, claiming my 8-year-old nephew, at the time, beat her and my dad, and so on. My mom's always had a knack for being able to manipulate me by using my dad's well-being against me, saying he won't have pain meds so she can get money, saying he will have to walk for miles with his painful spinal injuries, etc., by comparing me to my brothers, claiming they won't help her, and crying to me, etc. Most recently, however, and the final straw for me, was that last year my wife's family generously offered to have her use their family cottage for a week, during which time my parents ended up royally pissing off the neighbors by not cleaning up their dog crap, taking out a boat only for my dad to pass out on one of their docks and having the boat slam into it, according to the neighbors, trying to start a fire under the cottage's porch, being rude and obnoxious, etc. Well, after that, my wife's grandmother, who owns the cottage, told them that they could only go up to the cottage if someone in their family went with them, me and my wife or someone else. They said fine. But then that grandmother died last year, and my wife's mother and uncle inherited it. So, in the middle of spring, my mom tried to find out if they can go up for a week, and we tell her that we can't take time off for a while to go up with her. She turned around and said that she thought that we didn't need to go with them anymore, as the grandmother was dead. Anyways, after telling them that's not how that works, the rules are still in place. She said okay and eventually hung up. Skip forward a few weeks, and she calls again asking if we could plan a weekend where we could all go up together. And me and my wife say, sure, we just have to work it out with our jobs, and with my wife's parents. They thought they could just go up any time we were all free though, because they asked why we had to ask her parents. Again, not my wife's or my property. In addition, by the end of the conversation, it was clear that she also thought she could bend the rules previously mentioned by having us up there for the start of the trip, and finish off a week with just them there. I confronted her on this, and she said, well, we would feel like we were being babysat if you guys had to come up with us the entire time. At this point, I'm just thinking, B, You would be being babysat by us. That's the point. You've proven to my wife's family that you all need to be under supervision there, and are lucky that they will allow you back at all." After she hangs up, though, I think it's been resolved. Until a couple days later, when she texted me asking for my wife's mother's number so she can talk about the restrictions and such, which upset my wife because she was already being rude to us about everything. And so my wife did not want to give my mother her parents' phone number for her to harass them, nor should she have to. So she texted back saying she wasn't allowed to give it out. Shortly after, we went to the movies, only for my mother to send me a text saying, "We can't get Hannah's mom's number. What the duck have you been saying to them about us?" My wife, trying to not cause more conflict, then sent them a message saying she would have her mother call them to talk. Well, this further devolved that night into us saying, "Duck all the niceties," as my mother started texting me replies like, "We should have never had kids," and "I should have thrown myself down the stairs when I was pregnant with you." So after the accusatory message saying, "What the duck are we telling my wife's family about them?" I haven't responded at all, and have blocked their number. My wife stopped talking to them after the final message of her saying she would have her mom call mine. It amazes me when I and others have to deal with family members abusing their relationship to family members to be able to get them to do something. And even more when they use their relationship to that family member to manipulate a third party, like one of their friends, or in this case, kind of fourth party, like my wife's mother. I mean, who the duck thinks that they are entitled to their children's wife's family's property? I shouldn't be as surprised as I am, though. After all, she used to hit my friends up for money and rides in high school and college. I will say, though, that things have been a lot less stressful since my mother has been out of the picture for us. And things between my brother's families and I have never been better. Sucks for her, though, as I was the last one out of her 4 sons that wanted anything to do with them. Good for you for standing up for not only yourself, but your wife's parents. Sounds like your life will be much happier without them in your life. It also sounds like your brothers figured this out before you did. They let you figure it out is my guess. Good luck to you. She put bills in your name when you were a minor, and the above amazes you? Not to mention all the other things you mentioned? How many lessons do you need? I never would have let her meet your in-laws and that side of the family in the first place, let alone accept that whole polite initial cottage invite without vigorously objecting to it. Dude, I'd go full no contact with your mom and figure out some way to get your pop what he needs, assuming you think he deserves it. He's part of the problem, isn't he? Good luck. So, this story begins many years ago, back when the world was new. Well, kinda. I mean, it was like 12 years ago. My aunt, for the sake of anonymity, we'll call her Helga, got pregnant with her daughter, Peach, and married her Air Force husband, Carl. She was in college and she stayed there up until 2 years ago. Her loan amount was too high and they stopped providing her with loans. It was over $100,000 at this point. She has no degree to speak of. Last time she had a consistent job was 20-ish years ago. Well, last year it came out that Helga and Carl were getting a divorce. Carl moved out of the house and moved back in with his parents in the same state as me in the Pacific Northwest, while she stayed in the Midwest. Carl has been doing his best to be fair with custody. He was even giving my grandmother a couple weeks to have her only granddaughter. He was also paying hefty alimony. That was until about 4 months ago, when it came out that she had moved her unemployed boyfriend in, which meant Carl no longer had to pay alimony and received near full custody. This is where things get worse. She went to court to try and get the alimony resumed and claimed she hadn't moved her boyfriend in, but her daughter and neighbor both signed letters saying she did. She is now asking our grandparents for help financially. Well, help really isn't the right word. She wants my grandparents to buy her home and pay off her student loans. When my grandparents agreed on the condition she gets a job and will pay her back and pay rent, she found this to be an unacceptable trade-off and has not spoken to my grandparents in months, which is taking a toll on my grandfather. My grandfather has leukemia, and the stress from this has visibly aged him. Not to mention, ruined the relationship between my grandmother and Carl. I feel like the worst part is my grandparents are already struggling financially. My grandmother works at a high school as a para-educator for students with disabilities, and my grandfather retired years ago due to crippling Crohn's disease. They really can't afford a debt like this. It's been almost 2 months since she's spoken to my grandparents, and she spent it trying to convince my mother that my grandparents are selfish and I almost forgot to mention, 2 weeks ago, I got a text from my mom asking me if she'd talk to me. When I asked why, she said that my aunt expected her or me to take a week off work and fly down to her state with Peach because my 11-year-old cousin shouldn't be flying alone. She expected us to pay for a round-trip flight for whoever went down the first week of July and the second week of September, the week before Peach goes back to school. Thankfully, her father has primary custody. Children deserve sane, capable caregivers. I hope all friends and family are making sure that the grandparents are fully supported. They need to be reassured that nobody expects them to bankroll Aunt's poor choices. Even if they wanted to do so, it doesn't sound like it is possible. I don't feel sorry for the aunt, despite her mean ways. She must be a miserable person to behave so poorly. I hope she grows up eventually and learns how to adult properly. It would help her own happiness as well as everyone who has to interact with her.